Good afternoon. How are you today? Well, Holly and I have split our duties on her recovery. Since I don't yet have COVID, I sort of do the outside tasks. And Holly, as I'm speaking to you, she's dealing with her infusion and the whatever liquids they're giving her. Her spirits were better today, but the night was hard. And so we're taking this a step at a time. Some people have suggested things she should try, but because of other medicines she has to take because of the lung transplant, she can't take those things. So that's the way it is. Holly is a human chemistry set as is anybody who gets any kind of a transplant. And the deal is to try to get the benefit from certain drugs and minimize the side effects of those drugs. So that said, I've been encouraged at the relative comfort that Holly seems to have. So that's our story, and we're sticking to it. The rest of the day has these strange stories. What else is new? And one of them is, what's it like to have a holiday in Ukraine? As you may have heard, there have been like 110 missile strikes in the last several days. And we're talking about residential buildings, shopping centers, civilian infrastructure, that kind of stuff. So this is happening while we sleep. It's happening over there. There have been supposedly something like 18 killed and 132 injured. And the devastation would be worse if the United States had not supported them with certain kinds of equipment that defeats a lot of these missile strikes. So this is the effect lessened by our support of Ukraine. And so as I say this, how about our Congress? What is wrong with them? We are in a situation in supporting Ukraine that we should not withdraw from, that we should not take lightly. It is a very serious confrontation. And, just the other day, there's been evidence that Putin is continuing to prosecute and chase after those people who oppose him. And I'll talk about that again in a moment, I think. Now, so the good news is our support for Ukraine diminished the terrible effects that 110 missiles could have caused. But the rest of that story is Congress is off celebrating New Year's and not taking care of business. And I don't know what the story is these days that we can't identify a crisis and deal with it. In my own personal, smaller life, I sort of think of I'm not working 9 to 5. I work when it's required. That doesn't mean I work less. It usually means at certain times I work a lot more, and other times there is a recovery period. And I don't question when somebody calls and says there's an emergency and say, I'm sorry, it's after 9 o'clock, I can't deal with that. And that comes from many years since I was, I suppose, a law clerk and a prosecutor, and then in private practice, and then in politics as I was running for office, and then working on the Hill. You know, the job defines what needs to be done, and time sometimes is generous and other times it's not. Okay, so that's one professional's history of how one deals with time. How can Congress be confronting issues as large as these are? That is in Israel and in Ukraine, and go away, take off. How can they do that and be considered serious? How can they be considered responsible? But they do it all the time. Now there's an official in Maine, Secretary of State, whom I'm very impressed with. Bellows is her last name, and I think she's been on the shows today. And what she's done is she has barred Trump from being on the ballot in Maine. Now, you know that's going to stir up trouble. But what she's doing is fabulous. That's what everybody should be doing. And we don't. That is, we don't enforce the law. In this case, the U.S. Constitution, which she invoked, and it's the section we've been talking about, Article 14, Section 3. You take an oath, and then you violate it by being involved in an insurrection. Thank you very much. Don't pass go. You're not going into the race for president in Maine. Now, you know there's going to be a big fight over this, but there shouldn't be. And like many of you, I suppose, I find the governor of California an attractive candidate for office. But he's got this dead wrong. He said he thinks we should decide this at the ballot box. Wrong. Wrong, wrong, wrong. Because what he's saying is let's ignore the Constitution, let's ignore the vehicle we have to stop this criminal from going to office again. And what we're going to say is, oh, we're not going to keep him off the ballot. Why not? That's exactly what you should do. Keep him off the ballot. Because he has violated his oath of office. And we see it manifest in the charges against him, civil and criminal. And that you would hesitate for a moment to say, as this goes on, that we're going to give him a pass and let the voters decide. Really? Is that what the law is about? Okay, so if I vote against, prosecuting some laws, that's okay. He seems an intelligent enough man. He seems to understand what's right and wrong. And then he does this. And that's it. Cowards across America. It could be the name of a movie, and it should be. We should, when this is over, assuming we're not all in camp somewhere because we said something against Herr Trump, then we should have a movie that shows each and every public figure and how they fell down on their job when they didn't do what was available that was a remedy to what was wrong. Now, there's another good profile in courage in Ohio. Now, it's not about Trump, but it's about the issues we're concerned about. That is how we treat our own, the standard of civilization. And we have a ruling by the governor that he supports freedom to have gender-affirming treatments. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm getting used to the language, I guess. But here's the bad news. The governor is sensitive to what children need, and what parents should be able to do for their children. But what is he concerned about? Well, his legislative body may overturn what he says and may overturn his veto of their legislation to limit the remedies for parents who seek to help in gender-affirming cases their children get on with what is necessary. And so the last thing that comes to mind that bothers me is how we, the United States, seem to be in a position where we're going to mimic the patron saint of Trump, Putin, who is doing what I said earlier, which is he has renewed his attack on activists and citizens opposed to the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Interesting, huh? What does it look like when the Republican members of Congress are on the same side as Putin? What does it tell us when Trump is on that same side? So we have a world that's topsy-turvy in terms of right thinking and right action. So we have, for example, a Maine Secretary of State who reads the Constitution and enforces it. And then we have a friend, we believe, the governor of California, who backs off. Oh, I think the voters should decide. No, I don't think the voters should decide. The founding fathers should decide. as the Constitution was written, as it was amended, how it's been enforced, and it should be enforced in this case. That man Trump has no business being on a ballot anywhere in America after trying to steal the election. So that's what I got. And if I can talk, I'll talk again tomorrow. I say can because Holly and I are figuring out how to do this. And we both wear masks and we try to keep distance from each other to encourage the notion that I'm more effective for both of us if I'm not also a casualty of COVID. I don't mean casualty die, I just mean contracting it. So that's my thinking today. So have a great attitude. If I don't talk to you before the new year, have a great weekend. But I expect I'll be out again tomorrow. All the best. And I say goodbye to you for the day from my marvelous, marvelous cathedral of trees. They're here. They reassure us. If we can find a way to be like nature, to be productive, to be natural, we can fix this country and get rid of these enemies of the people. Bye-bye.